speaking of things that get derailed, you ever listen to the Maze and Eytan show Monday through Friday from 12 to 2? You're very familiar with people going down rabbit trails. And joining me now is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, Harry Mays on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Harry, how you doing this Saturday?
I'm doing great, Josh. Good to be with you. And what rabbit hole are we going down today?
Well, I totally got sidetracked because somebody brought up on the text board about are the Warriors the greatest team of all time? And I said, I'm not ready to go there. And then, people are bringing up, the Celtics of the 80s. And, I brought up the Showtime Lakers and Jordan's Bulls. And, it's turned into a life of its own at this point.
Yeah, it's really difficult to compare eras. I mean, the game of basketball in the NBA is so much different than it was, back when I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and then into even the Jordan's 90s. I mean, the three-point shot has totally transformed the game. So we're not even looking at a remotely similar product, 2019 versus Showtime Lakers, 1985, 86, 87, in that period there, which I witnessed all that. That to me is my favorite decade of NBA basketball. It was just phenomenal. I mean, you had the Sixers teams in there in the early to mid 80s with Dr. J, and then you got to include the Pistons too at the end of the decade. It was just fantastic basketball. It was like must-see television. And I think right now, if you like the modern-day game, and I do, watching the Warriors, although sometimes you have to stay up till 10:30 for the tip-off, you really get your money's worth. I mean, watching Steph Curry and Klay Thompson last night, Steph Curry, especially in the fourth quarter, in the second half, Klay Thompson throughout the game just shoot threes. And, I mean, these guys are pulling these things up from 35, 40 feet. And it's just like a flick of the wrist, and it's nothing but net. It's just I love watching great shooting, and so I'm totally into it. But it's hard to compare eras. I'd rather – it's fun to talk about, but I don't think you're ever going to get a definitive answer.
No, you're not. And the other thing is you mentioned the 80s. I mean, you mentioned the Sixers, the Celtics, the Lakers, and then the Pistons. All of those teams had not one. They had multiple Hall of Fame great players on them, whereas, no offense to today's athletes, but – I feel like there's less elite talent in the game today. There might be elite athletes, but they're not as refined as basketball players as they were in the 80s.
Well, I mean, I think there's some players that are better shooters than in the 80s. Because, I mean, right. there was no, the three-point shot really was a small part of the game back then. And, I mean, you could put Larry Bird in any era. Larry Bird would succeed today because of the way he shot the basketball. You could put, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, in any era too. In my view, I mean, to me, the whole team with the Warriors, you could even make an argument for Andre Iguodala as far as going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, that whole starting lineup is probably going to be in Springfield, Massachusetts someday. You look at James Harden and Chris Paul on the other team that lost last night. They're going to be there as well. You look in the East, I mean, Giannis is on his way, barring injury, to a Hall of Fame career. They got a couple of guys on our 76ers teams, if they can keep on the floor. I mean, I'm talking about Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid. I don't know what Ben Simmons is yet. He's still just sort of figuring his game out. But, there's a lot of talent, man. I mean, I don't know if I can go there. I've seen all of those decades, and I think today's game, though it's different, and maybe they're not as fundamentally sound when they're coming into the league because they only spend 1 year in college. They develop their game in the NBA as before, they did 3-4 years of college and they came in much more better equipped. But I think I can't really go there with you on that statement.
You mentioned, Joel Embiid. I want to ask you a question about him because I brought this up last week and I feel like you're a great person to ask this to. I'm concerned with Embiid because we're talking about older players. I feel like if he doesn't get his health straight, he does worry me that he could be the next Bill Walton, this phenomenal talent, but a guy who just is never healthy and he only has X number of years where he's able to be impactful.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that is a concern with him. He's got to figure that out, and I think this offseason it really has to be priority number one. with the organization and with Joel. They need to both agree that his diet, his overall physical, well-being is the number one priority. Now, he's probably, if this knee thing doesn't need anything drastic, except rest, I would say that can be managed. But as far as, just having him ready and more consistently available, I think is really the goal here. Because when he's playing and when he's right, he is one of the best players I've ever seen. And you're hoping, if you're a Sixer fan, that one of those games is set to happen on Sunday night. Thus far, we haven't heard anything else about any issues with him between, the game the other night and today. So things are going in the right direction. But if they can have him play, he's going to probably have to play 40 to 44 minutes on Sunday night, to me, in order for them to have a chance to win this game on the road.
Of course, listen to Mays and Eytan every Monday through Friday from 12 to 2 on 97.3 ESPN. Harry Mays joining me on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Sixers Raptors Game 7 tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN. And Harry, the game is in Toronto, and I heard a comment from somebody earlier today, and they said, well, is it really a home court advantage because it's Toronto? And, it's funny, but I get what they're saying, though. The Sixer fans are nuts. Like, they're loud and they're obnoxious and they drive you nuts. I know they call it, like, Jurassic Park and we are the North, but does Toronto really have a legitimate home court advantage?
Oh, yeah, I think they do. I mean, that city has really embraced NBA basketball, and they love that. They love that franchise. I think that building is going to be an absolute zoo on Sunday night, and that's something that should really concern the Sixers and Sixers fans. Or this isn't going to be some place where it's like Eagles fans going down to Washington D.C. and taking over FedEx Field. That is not what we're going to see here on Sunday night. I mean, this is the biggest game in the Toronto Raptors franchise's history up until now. I mean, this is it. I mean, there's so much riding on this for a guy like Kyle Lowry, who's been there, for so many years. What is he, like 11 years in the league, something like that?
Yeah.
And they've gone to the playoffs a lot, and they've disappointed a lot. So there's a lot riding for a guy like him, who's been through it all. There's a lot riding on it for Kawhi Leonard. I mean, depending on what happens with this game, could be an indicator of where he goes in the offseason. If he gets this team to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think they would have a very good chance of beating the Milwaukee Bucks if they get there, and then puts them in the NBA Finals, maybe he stays in Toronto. You know what I mean? Maybe he realizes we're just one player away, maybe more depth on the bench. They used to have a tremendous bench. It's not nearly as good as it used to be this season. They haven't gotten anything really out of Van Fleet in this series. And perhaps that changes because role players play better. They seem to play better when they're playing at home. So I would look for a much better effort from a guy like Powell and Van Vliet off the bench. Ibaka has been pretty solid. Has given him some really good minutes. He's a good veteran player. And maybe a Siakam, steps up at home. It seems like he likes that corner three a whole lot better in his own building than he does on the road.
In your eyes, has Kawhi Leonard taken the mantle of best player on the planet?
Well, he's the best two-way player on the planet right now. I mean, because he although he's not asked to play tremendous defense guarding Ben Simmons because there's really, half of his responsibility is really not even, necessary because he knows Ben's not going to shoot it beyond 5, 6, 7 feet from the basket. So it's not as difficult a challenge. But when he's pushed to it, he is the best two-way player in the planet. I would probably give you an argument with Kevin Durant overall because Durant can play some decent defense too, and he's an absolute just beast with in the offensive end. I'd probably go Durant and then Kawhi Leonard.
By the way, the text board can't help themselves. Someone already texted in and said, Iggy is now a Hall of Fame material. Jeez.
Well, no. What we saw here in Philadelphia, but you compile the numbers, and now he's got a bunch of championships.
And an NBA Finals MVP, yeah.
Finals. Exactly. Now, I know Sixers fans don't want to hear that, and I didn't say it was a lock, but you can make an argument for him. I'm not looking at his numbers in front of me, but if he plays another couple of years, he may have the numbers to get in with all these rings.
Well, also, Harry, the Basketball Hall of Fame, I was saying this earlier, it's much more lenient than it is baseball and football. They're more so about the history of the game and putting people in than just the most elite players.
Yeah, now I know, in Philadelphia, Andre Iguodala is, it's almost like a curse word, Iggy in Philadelphia, because he was viewed as the franchise guy and a guy, to be the number one player. He never was that. And we figured it out that he's a guy that would be a really good player. He does a lot of things well. He defends well. He can get hot from the field, as far as three-point shooting. This is the perfect situation for him in Golden State, where he is the fourth or fifth best guy on the team. And he could just do his thing. And, it's not like he needs the ball in his hands all the time. It's not like he's expected to carry anybody. But he just plays his role, and he plays it really well. And I know, Sixers fans hate to admit that, but, deep down inside, they have to acknowledge it.
Well, the problem is, like you said, he was expected to be this franchise guy. Like, look at a guy like Chris Bosh. He was the guy in Toronto, but he was the perfect three guy in Miami, and they won championships. Kyrie's learning.
Right, he changed his role.
Kyrie's learning in Boston that he doesn't have what it takes to carry a team by himself. Some guys are just not cut out to be that guy.
You're exactly right. In fact, not only is he not good enough to carry a team, he's divided that team. He is really, you start looking at some of the anonymous quotes from some of the players after the season ended the other night. It's pretty striking about how he affected that locker room. It's like he took all the energy in the room, and it's just he's really kind of, it's that locker room cancer kind of thing. It's real, and I think there's a lot around Kyrie when it comes to that.
By the way, how much do you think Kyrie paid Marcus Smart to say good things about him? Like, did he give him a car or something?
Yeah, maybe. Could be. I didn't see the quote. What exactly did he say?
Marcus Smart said it was BS that people are saying that Kyrie's not a good leader and that he was a problem in the locker room.
Okay, well, there's other quotes that aren't attributed to any player,
right?
That indicate otherwise. But bottom line is, the locker room was divided to some degree. I mean, that's when you got one guy saying one thing and another guy saying the other, there's a problem.
All right, Harry, before I let you go, what is the Mays weekend entail for you?
Well, I'm about ready to head over to the golf club right now and give my wife a little golf lesson and hit the driving range and maybe go out and play a few holes. And then we'll probably start cocktailing maybe around 4 o'clock, have a nice dinner, watch a movie, maybe catch up on Billions. And then tomorrow, I'm getting ready for Sixers basketball, pre-gaming.
Now, are you going to pre-game during the Blazers-Nuggets game or just right before the Sixers game?
Okay, so they moved the Blazers-Nuggets to 3:30 now because Golden State is clinched, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I will probably start during that game.
Nice. So you
will
be amped and ready for the Sixers game.
Absolutely, and I will be shutting my phone off. I will not be on Twitter during the game, and I'm not going to be on Twitter during the beginning of Game of Thrones. In fact, I'm not going to watch Game of Thrones until Monday morning around 8 o'clock so I can be ready to talk about it with Eytan on Monday.
Yeah, because you know that he can't go a day without talking about Game of Thrones. So.
Oh, no, he can't go. In fact, he said, you heard the breaking news yesterday, he's going to shut his phone off for a period of a few hours so he can, watch Game of Thrones from the start, and then he's going to go back and watch the rest of the basketball game.
See, that should be a Twitch stream in and of itself. The moment that Eytan shuts off his phone, he should turn on the Twitch camera and just stream what is Shander's life without his phone.
Trust me, he's probably going to be doing that because I think he's in the process of getting more cameras and setting them up, in various locations inside the studio that we have there. And I think he wants his life on Twitch 24/7.
What is this, Big Brother?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, it's interesting to watch the dog, too, Ace.
Oh, well, I'm way more interested in the dog than Eytan.
Attraction. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Everybody is.
All right, 12 to 2, Monday through Friday. Mays and Eytan right here on 97.3 ESPN, Harry Mays, joining me on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Harry, appreciate you carving some time out of your Saturday for me.
Thanks, Josh. Anytime.